going on in people's lives.
I'm gonna bucket fill the desserts because I always text them about like how to like negotiate with
Sure.
yes. And last week they basically like just guided me through kind of like a really stressful situation, and now the home is pending, so that's good.
Awesome. What else? What else is good?
My kids are back in school, so they got something to do now.
So that's a positive.
And they don't have, they can't say no to me.
How do you manage that?
Well, they don't turn in their homework. then
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I should say, it reduces the no's I hear.
Got it.
So,
Use leverage. This is a great place to use leverage.
so I'm appreciative of Jim. I just had a very nice conversation with him. I had some questions, and he helped me
Oh,
the realtor jail.
nice. Awesome. That is a plus.
No real jail.
Nope, we don't want that. All right, who else? Nothing else good is happening? Now something's good happening. I was like, we can say, thank you, Jason.
Jason today.
We needed a bucket fill. Here it
We
is.
needed a bucket fill. There it was. I said everyone's like at home, just relaxing for this week. All right, I know there's better things going on right now. Come on, guys. What are some good things? Anyone online can also participate.
I got another one. I just have to bucket fill several people in our office. First, start with you. Since I've been coaching with you've been coaching me. I can tell you that I'm fully at a different level of thinking, and I'm excited about growing. And I'm excited about the future. Heather, Lydia, Katie. Unfortunately, we're losing Katie, but
She'll be back.
she
We're gonna have her get her license. We're gonna. We got plans for her.
right, and she is they're just amazing ladies and massive asset to our team, and I totally agree. We're going to get Katie back.
Thanks, AG. All right, who else?
Okay, so my oldest started kindergarten this yesterday, I guess, and he did great. He didn't even give me a hug. He was so excited to get on the bus, which made me a little sad. But I feel like fall is a new season and it's time to get back at it. And I'm pretty excited for that. So, I mean, he did great. And now it's time to.
Awesome. Maureen, I see your hand up.
I was just going to say, there's just so many helpful people in the office, and we've got a couple of text threads going. I've got some with my old accountability group and some with the newer agents. And it seems like whenever anybody has a question and they put it on the thread and they say, hey, what do you think? Do you know how to do this? What do I do with this? There's always somebody that provides the answer or says, you know what, this is out of my, I don't know what the answer is. So you got to call Jim, or somebody will pick up the phone and call me, whether Jelena and Nina and Danielle and Zach and Alex have all picked up the phone and called me and said no, this is the answer I know. But if you want to get more clarification, Kevin's been so helpful. Everybody, there's just such a tight knit group of people that are always willing to help. And that just speaks volumes for our office.
Awesome. Thanks, Maureen. All right. Not going to ask anybody else. Moving on. All right, so Ignite. Ignite is happening every Monday and it starts September 12th and it goes through October 24th. This Ignite is not the same as other Ignites. There are actually quite a few top producing agents that are going to be taking this as well, because it's truly now kind of regrouping as what the term was to ignite your business. And just because you've been in it for a while does not mean that there always needs to kind of be a regroup situation. So I'm really excited about it. And there's a really great group of people, not just here, but also the other 4 offices that have signed up for it. So I don't care if you've taken Ignite before or you think that, we know everything. Not the case. We just talked in the PC group about how many times people have taken Bold. And it really is a new thing that you can pick up each time, depending on where you're at in your business. And it's been reshifted. So if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we can resend out the link for you to sign up for Ignite as well. I think right now we have 12 people from this market center. And it's going to be here. You don't even have to leave. It's here. Yep. Yeah, you guys are all signed up. So if you have questions about that, let us know. Then we have some other classes. We have our P&L class. So this one's really incredible. Tam did it, I think in the spring. And she shared her entire P&L. She opened up her own books, worked through, and it taught you exactly what she does. And then she shared the template. We are going to be having business planning happening in October. We purposely put this now so that you can try to get this year's business or any other year's business in like kind of within a profit and loss already, so that we can see conversion rates, we can see where you're spending money, where return on investment is before going into business planning in October. So that also will be here tomorrow, correct? At 11 a.m. It will be on Zoom as well. I think it's great when you're in person here though, especially because she's incredibly interactive on what she's spending things on and how she's teaching that. So, and it's always great to support agents that are teaching those classes for all 5 market centers. Mega Agent interview is going to be with Christy Kimbrell. So that's going to be Thursday, September 15th. It will be at the Edina office. And that's always facilitated by Perry. It's always interesting because in those interviews, you kind of hear the good, bad, and the ugly, because I think when you have these mega agents, you think it was all roses and sunshine on how they got there. And I can guarantee none of them didn't have all of the other things involved in getting to where they're at, as well as shifting their teams or shifting their business. Then we have our multi-office team meeting September 21st. That will be here at Lake Minnetonka. Jake will be the one that runs that one. And then there's a listing and buyer presentation in Command, which is Thursday, September 22nd. And that is going to be at KW Lakes. This is an opportunity not only to see these agents that are in here. So Katie Bean, Rick Brahma, and David Roll. All 3 of them are very high producing listing agents. They're actually providing their entire listing presentation. And then Jason is going to help you figure out either how to use that type of presentation and do that in Command. So it's kind of a twofold workshop / class with them on how they actually utilize their listing presentation. So if you do not have one, even if you do have one, I can guarantee you're going to pick up some tips and tricks from those 3 agents. All right, Jacob, you're up first. So I asked Jacob to do a tech minute because I've gotten a lot of questions recently as people have been coming in to either coach or newer agents or seasoned agents that have not used Command in a high level way. Or just really easy things to do like neighborhood nurture. So he's going to go through a few different items on Command and how you do that. So if this was a time that you like record this, write a lot of notes, this would be it, because he's going to step by step go through all the way from contact to getting them on a campaign or onto a neighborhood nurture. Did I say that right, Jacob? Perfect.
Sorry, my stuff got all moved around when I was getting the screen sharing set up. Can you guys see my screen, that Smart Plans page?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So first thing I wanted to share with you guys is I actually put together an 8x8 contact introduction for our office for you guys to use. And it's really, really easy to find. It's and you can download it immediately, customize it as much as you like. And it also automatically adds people as soon as you add them to it. Later on, it adds them into a quarterly call plan and a monthly neighborhood nurture plan. And all you have to do to download it is under the Smart Plans page here. If you head to library and then search for KWLM right here, it'll show you the Smart Plan there. Take a second to load because I'm sharing to Zoom, but you can see right there, the KWLM 8x8 new contact engagement. It's got 18 steps. It's very long, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then 5 touches there. And this also automatically adds them to a couple of Smart Plans later. So if you're looking for a new contact introduction, typically that 8x8 is the preferred way to do it, just because that is like the way to get someone integrated into your database. And then after that, you put them on your 36 touch Smart Plan, which is 36 touches over the course of a year. And this also takes care of 16 of those touches right away. So once you search for it, all you have to do is hit the Add Smart Plan button here, and then it'll automatically prompt you to download the 2 extra Smart Plans, this quarterly call plan and the monthly neighborhood nurture. So you'll download both of those, then hit download there. And once those are downloaded, all you have to do is look in your Smart Plans, and you see right here all the ones we just added, including the 8x8, and then you can go in and customize it however you like. So if you're trying to get any of that set up, all you have to do is head to the library, search for KWLM, which is for Keller Williams Lake Minnetonka. And then you've got everything pulled in right there, and all of it is automatic and puts it in there and fully customizable, which is super, super nice. So I'll dive in here quick and show you a couple of the pieces and a couple of details about it. But yeah, and it's perfect for any new contact you're adding to your database or anyone that you just met at an open house, for instance. This is a great way to get them integrated into your database, get them to know who you are, and then automatically set up some follow-up to be happening once a quarter and automatically have them on an email campaign. So most of the tasks here are just like, reach out to this person. There's some templates for text you can send here. I borrowed most of these from a template that Keller Williams International put together, but luckily since I made it here, you can customize as much as you like. So it's just, sending emails, sending text messages, calling people. And there's a couple of notes I want to make here. The first is one of these tasks here is confirming that the contact first name, contact last name has an email address and neighborhood selected in command. I'll go through right now how to do that, but basically all it is confirming that they have all the information they need to receive your monthly neighborhood nurtures. Because I know we talked about it, I think it was at team meeting a month ago or so in mid-August. Monthly neighborhood nurtures are automatic, phenomenal. They get great open rates, they get great click rates. There is no reason not to use them, and your clients love them. Every single one of our clients has said they absolutely love it. I've heard so much feedback from the Zurich since we started using them that they're in love with it. And all this task says to do is head into the contact and then click on the blue Add Neighborhood button and then click the Find on Map button. So if we look at one of our contacts right here, there's that blue Add Neighborhood button, and then you hit Find on Map. And from here, you can just scroll in and select neighborhoods in and around the area here. I left a note in there. Typically, I like to choose like 5 to 8 of them. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That works perfect. And then when you save it, it automatically puts all of them there. And if we hit preview right here, you can see the website that it's going to pull them to whenever they click on your email, and you can see all this information it goes to. And again, all you have to do is make sure they have an email address, pick those neighborhoods, and every piece, this is automatic. It is always, as soon as you add them to the 8x8, it'll automatically put them in the monthly neighborhood nurture, and it'll automatically send this every single month until you turn it off, which is super, super nice. That's a third of your 36 touch done. And then the only other note I want to make here, there's a few more texts and calls. The last couple steps here, before I add them to the quarterly call plan, I do have a 82-day delay here because your last touch was 7 days ago and you want it to be a quarterly call plan. That way is just to make sure you're not doubling up on communication, nothing's being weird. If you don't like that, you can go in and hit this little X here, and that will delete it automatically, and it'll pull them straight into the quarterly call plan. And then, a week after you have this about our team email you're sending out, or whichever email you end up sending, it'll do it straight away. So yeah, so that's available to you guys to download, as we talked about earlier. And then outside of that, I did want to go through a couple of the other ones that are available from Keller Williams International. I know they have a few plans here that are super helpful that aren't as customizable, but are well integrated and really helpful to use. Whenever you head to this like Smart Plans library thing here, you can always search for plans that other people have made. People like Marty Miller have made a lot of them that are super helpful. And there's a handful of them from Keller Williams. And outside of the 8x8 new contact engagements and the biweekly neighborhood nurtures, we also have open house follow-ups. And then this home anniversary is another great one. So whenever someone buys a home with you, what you can do is add their home anniversary into command in their contact. It's just underneath their contact page a little further down. We head to additional contact information. There it is. Under About, you can see home anniversary right here, as well as birthday. You can automatically set them up on smart plans and just have a task like after every closing to add them to the home anniversary and add them to the birthday. And then it'll automatically remind you beforehand just to follow up, wish them a happy anniversary, see how they're doing in the home, things like that. I know I just talked for a long time. Does that all make sense? Does anyone have any questions about all the stuff that we went through just now, or anything that could be helpful? Anything like that?
Who's using these?
We are. Do you mean like in general in the office, or?
As I'm looking out at everyone, I'm thinking, why are we not using them? Because that seems pretty easy to do. And I'm like, the neighborhood nurture at an open house, right? Neighbors come in, you get their email, they now know what's going on in their neighborhood. You door knock, you know what neighborhood they live in. If you get their emails, you can send that to them. Why are we not using them if we're not? That's like a live question. We don't need coffee, or there's like, it's not gonna, okay. I mean, I think it's one where I'd like to know why people wouldn't, right? Because then we can try to, if it's an edit thing, if it's something that we can work on in command, like there's some sort of hesitation to it, we can work through that. I see someone has something in the chat.
Yeah, is this being recorded to go back and watch? Jacob was talking really fast. Yeah.
I tend to do that.
Being recorded? Yes.
Yeah.
I think with the neighborhood nurtures, the reason that my people aren't necessarily on them is lack of information. Either you don't have an address for them or don't know necessarily what neighborhoods they're in or looking at, or you don't have an email. So not everybody's on it. I did talk to Jacob last week about birthday plans, just because I went through everybody and put in birthdays, and the KW one, you can't edit, and there's 5 touches for a birthday. It's like send a note, call, text, do a social. And it's too much for what I want to do for a birthday. And you can't make your own plan that happens on their birthday or counts from their birthday backwards. You have to specifically put it in for 365 days and then change it if it's a leap year, or whatever else. So it's just not, I mean, so that's another, if those were editable, that would be nice.
Okay. I mean, I just asked those questions because obviously if we aren't using them, I know that there's ways to either, put something in or whatnot. It's a great point if you don't know where people live, right? So as we're thinking about how we're having conversations, how we're lead genning, and the questions that we're asking people, could that be something we edit into our conversations of, hey, I'm just curious, what neighborhood do you live in? Or what neighborhood are you interested in, right? Because now you keyed into, okay, great. Jane really likes Linden Hills, or she loves Matt Groveland. Like, now you can send those to her, and it would almost be something that's really great where she gets that and just say, hey, I just put you on this so you know what's going on in those neighborhoods. You don't have to ask her if she wants to buy and sell in them, but it's providing information and knowledge that she's probably looking up on Zillow anyways, right? We all know that people are looking there. This is the exact same thing, but you're providing it to them, to their specific neighborhood.
I think one of the things you can do too is just send them a neighborhood and say, hey, the great thing about this is it's editable. So they can change their neighborhood themselves on their landing page.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, you can add a neighborhood to their contact without an address. It's the same process as just going into there. Since it doesn't have an address, it just picks Central United States. But you could just pick places that you think they may be interested in, or places that are fun and flashy to look at, things like Lake Minnetonka. And then you can either have them edit it themselves, or if they have any issues editing it, you can just ask them, after you send it out, you could send a follow-up text that's like, hey, that's actually on the 8x8 Smart Plan really quick. A week after you send that, there's a task to send them a text and say, hey, have you seen the monthly neighborhood nurture I sent? Do you have any questions about it? You could have a conversation with them after that, and then have them tell you which neighborhoods they like, go in and then select whichever ones they like. So that actually could be a great tool for that, for finding out someone's address or finding out what areas they're interested in, just to get a basic search set up. So yeah, thank you, Kevin. That is exactly what I was going to say. You beat me to it.
Any other questions regarding that piece? Awesome. Thank you, Jacob. Ethan, do you want to come up and introduce yourself?
Happy to help.
Before we get into numbers?
Yeah, sure, you betcha. Yeah. I have one more bucket fill. I want to thank Cammy because the last time we saw her, I was calling her out in public at the MAR gala.
At like a large MAR event.
We were doing an auction, and I think she and Jen Briggs, we were pushing them to spend about $8,000 for a good cause.
Which we did.
Which you did in
We
the end.
did.
So,
We
yes,
did
so,
in
but
the
thank-
end.
Thank you for not shunning me from your life and business. Thank you for having me. My name is Jason. For those I don't know, with Cinch Home Warranties, after about 2 years of, I don't want to say we were obsolete, but the market saw us as that way. We're a part of the conversation. Again, if you're not utilizing home warranties for your buyers as they're moving in, or even for your sellers, if you have a seller who spent 1 weekend in the market, didn't get 80 grand over asking, and they wonder what's wrong, this is a nice little way to add a little incentive to what they're doing. I will be brief. There is lunch in the back. So help yourselves. For those of you that are still on your way in, feel free to come in. But one of the things I wanted to touch on is after 4 years of no changes, we went through some recent changes to our plan coverages and costs. There's a little highlight that we're passing around here, but know that just from a standpoint, if you're negotiating in with for your buyers for a seller to pay for a home warranty, 572 and 672 are the cost of what we call our plus plans, the premier ones. We'd never like to sell ourselves as the cheapest. I know you all don't do the same thing with your services, but know that we do have really the highest level of coverage in the industry. We have read these 6-page brochures. We've simplified our terms and conditions so you and your buyers can understand what is covered and what isn't. But what I will say is, I know it's tough to have brochures around. I will have sign writers in the resource room if you want to add those to your listing signs. But for those of you, I hope you can see this. If you text to 88500, it's my first initial and last name, J Hadova. If you can see that, I hope you can read it. What this will do is instead of carrying paper brochures, text J Hadova at 88500. What's going to come back is just a little Cinch app. So you've got all our contact information. You can send brochures right to your clients from your hand when you're sitting down at the kitchen table presenting, or if there's still the people that never want to meet with you, you can email or text. We'd love to be a part of the conversation. Just know that I'm here to answer questions when you have them, when your clients have them. You're real estate experts. We are the home warranty experts. But we love partnering with John Butler and now the Jake Lures office.
I know, right?
Very exciting to hear that. So please use me as a resource. We love being your home warranty partner. If you have questions, please reach out. But text 88500 to J Hadova, and then all our contact information will be on your phone and at your fingertips when the opportunity presents itself. So.
Awesome. Quick question. Can you, as a existing homeowner, get a home warranty?
Absolutely. We focus on a real estate division. Our company has been based for 40 years.
Just thinking of like another touch as we're going into different seasons and people write another touch possibility.
It's an absolutely great opportunity if you're looking for a reason to reach out to your buyers and see how things are going with the house. Nothing's happened. If they didn't have any problems, you want to have an opportunity to say for, they're going to call Gasco. Plus. This is a better opportunity to cover more things for less money. And again, it's just an opportunity for you guys to reach out to your clients and offer them something as a way to protect them for the future. And a reason to keep in touch. So,
any questions?
Nope, just an endorsement. Used Cinch. And what was it before? I can't.
Well, yeah, we were the green
HMS.
company. Trust me, as an agent, I didn't understand there's an orange company and a red one and a green. We were HMS.
HMS.
But the change happened about 4 years ago, and so now I'm excited that we're no longer a 3-letter acronym because they were very confusing.
Yeah. No, the service has been always just top.
Awesome.
notch.
Thank
And
you.
being able to get a hold of someone with any home warranty company, like having someone like you to be able to like help navigate that if something would come up is amazing. And Jennifer, when she was in that role too, it's the same thing. Like there was always someone to help get through.
Real person.
Yeah.
Because the reality is it's not a perfect science.
Yep.
There are in a call center that takes most of the calls, but if your clients ever have trouble, know that that's what we're here to help to overcome. So thank you for the endorsement. I know Jennifer.
Thank you.
I've been doing it as long.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's nice to hear good things.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Fun stuff. Not for all of us, but so we went down to Mega Camp And every year they go through kind of the market numbers across the board, right? So for the entire nation. So this is not Minnesota specific. This is not Twin Cities specific. This is a market update for the United States. Canada is actually not included in this particular these numbers. They have their own numbers that we're going to be going through, or if you want, I'm not going to go through that, but I can send you those slides as well. So just starting with annual home sales, as we're looking at all of these numbers, I want you to think about this being on a national level. Are you aware of what these numbers are on your local level, right? Because at any point in time, we are supposed to be known as the local economists, right? People are calling us to ask what we believe their house is worth or what they can buy a house for or how they can invest. So anytime we're going through these numbers, I would encourage you to find these for your local markets. You know, maybe not across a period of time from, you know, 1990 all the way up to 22, but you can get a larger span of years, and especially pre-COVID versus after COVID versus kind of now is a good way to be able to talk buyers and sellers through things. So as we're looking at this, that kind of middle line, right, is where our projected sales are going to be in 2022. So as you're looking at this, when we think of home sales in the last 2 years, what were you feeling? What were you feeling when you were selling real estate? Fast and Furious, okay? What are you feeling now? Same way, okay? So you're taking market share at that point in time, right? Because across the board, we're about 1 million-ish less on home sales. Okay, so when you think of that many less home sales is quite a bit in that period of time. And when you're saying you still feel busy, this is where I would take and look at your own numbers too and say, okay, so last year I sold, let's just use 25 units. This year I'm pacing for 35. Okay, because again, it's the feeling. The reason I'm asking how you feel versus the actual numbers is you can feel completely different because inventory can be down, you're buyer heavy, you know, whatever it might be. And part of this too is we're shifting, right? We are shifting from a completely and totally buyer's market to more of an equal, hopefully, playing field. Not necessarily a seller's market, but there's going to be a shift. What do you guys take from these numbers?
Far off as it feels.
Okay. So that's giving hope that like, oh man, the sales aren't down as much as what I thought they are. What else does that say though?
So we have to have more real conversations with our clients.
More real conversations, and lead gen is going to be key, right? Because, you know, as we were talking before, and we're going to go through this with the shift book of being very, very highly servicing our clients for the last 2 years. And lead gen was at a very minimal amount of our business. I mean, we've talked about that for the last 6 months of why our numbers where they are. It's because we're so busy doing the work with the clients and we're forgetting about that lead gen, right? Part of that could be this. Right? Maybe there's not the rest of those buyers and sellers in the market because they don't have the knowledge base to be able to buy or sell. So are we utilizing every conversation we are having to inform our sphere of influence, whoever we're talking to? Are we doing that right now? Okay, next slide. Monthly. So this is interesting to me, right? So when you look at this, and obviously this is across the board, but we always talk about seasonality, right? Like, oh, there's seasonality because sometimes, you know, the sales are just different depending on the month. I'm going to call BS right there. Like, if you look at these numbers across the board, the last 2 years, where do you see seasonality? Okay, so moving forward in years after COVID, do we get to use the excuse of seasonality anymore? No, because we just proved in the last 2 years, it does not matter. People are buying and selling every month of the year. Right? Do you believe that maybe we as real estate agents created seasonality because we're like, ooh, the holidays in December, I don't really want to go on listing appointments. Maybe I'll go on vacation. Could that maybe be it?
I actually love that agents talk about seasonality because some of my best months are like December and January.
Mine too.
And I'm like, yes, go on vacation, goodbye.
Yeah, because people just stop working. Like they just stop working. Usually like end of October, they get really excited about business planning and they're like, this is what I'm gonna do. And then like Thanksgiving comes and then you don't see anyone lead genning ever. And like, it's the same 5 agents at open houses through like March until like that season comes up. So I want us to look at this though as an opportunity, right? If sales are going down and agents are fighting for those leads or fighting for those listings and buyers, this is the time for us to take market share. This is the time for us to keep lead genning, being consistent and being disciplined. Do you guys agree with that? Okay. Next slide. So this one, I think everyone, and you guys are going to get copies of this. This is one that if it is not put on to whatever source that you talk to your sphere or whoever, friends and family, don't just throw this up there though today. If I see one of you just throw it up there without an explanation, I'm going to call you out on it. This is one where we can educate anyone that has questions about home prices, right? What does this look like? This is the trend line. We just passed the trend line on where home prices were supposed to be per just normal inflation, right? And that was just last year. And everyone thought for the last 2 years, home prices were just absolutely insane. It was out of control. But when you look at it and you look at why, we were just trying to readjust back to that trend line, right? Other piece of this, people are going to ask, ooh, that bubble's going to hit. When's that going to hit? Well, how many years was it actually above the trend line? Trend line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're at year 2. Usually things follow a pattern, even if it's not 6. Do you believe that after 2 years there's going to be a drop? I don't know. But those are things to think about as people are asking about that, right? Knowing these numbers and being able to explain that as people are saying, oh man, I don't know if I want to buy because, you know, the prices are going to go down and I can feel it. And okay, awesome. So Mr. Buyer, Mrs. or Miss Buyer, from this graph, right, as we're watching that trend go up and it's still kind of going up, are you willing to wait another 3 years to buy a house? Well, maybe. Awesome. So what are you actually paying in rent? Just so that we can figure out, you know, what that could have been in a down payment. Are you actually paying for, you know, interest on your own home that you're owning? And do it in a very knowledge-based way, right? Like educate them because they don't understand what that means if they're going to wait for the prices to go down again. Like they might not realize that they're going to be $50,000 out the next 3 years that just went to pay someone else's mortgage down. Cool. I have renters too, and I love that. They can stay and rent all day long, right? And maybe it's because they can't buy yet. Well, get them to that point so that when they are able, introduce them to someone to help with their credit or why they aren't able to buy. Jacob.
Yeah, I think the other important thing to look at is there's a similar slide upcoming, I think soon, that is basically this graph, but rent prices. Yeah. Like rent is also increasing and you don't, if their opinion is it's too expensive to buy and rent is also too expensive, you don't win. Like there is no winning one way or the other. Getting in a home means you get to take advantage of prices going up, but there you can't game it, you know, because rent is also going to go up and that's going to completely negate anything you could have done.
Yep. So there is another slide. So if home prices are going up and interest rates are going up, your rent prices are absolutely going up because someone owns that and they need to also have some sort of profit in there. So it's all going to be going up at the same time. It's just a matter of where your money's going to go. All right, next slide. So inventory. This is a big one, right? So when we look at inventory and we look at where we're going and kind of that, I mean, it's kind of downward a little bit as like the last 2 years. But as we're looking here, right, inventory is actually going back up. How are we expressing that or talking about that with buyers and sellers?
My buyers are excited that there's more options for them.
Okay. And they might not have to feel as though they have to make a decision right away because there's not something else going to be on the market for 4 more months, right? So that's taking a stress level off of the buyers. Okay.
For sellers, we're changing the way we have conversations around pricing and talking about the idea of actually needing to do price reductions and having those conversations on the front end, because we actually had a property we price reduced. I don't think we've done that in years, but we had one up in Princeton that we literally had to price reduce. Thank goodness we had the conversation ahead of time. So we're like, yeah, no, the market's changed.
And I think the important thing about these price reductions is it's actually not a price reduction. All these sellers are wanting to price their house like outside of the market price, right? It's like, it is like a premium for every house that you go on a listing appointment for. Their house is actually worth $450 and they're like, let's price it at $499. Like, right? Because for a while it was like, okay, well, these are the only options. So when we're talking about price reductions, it's really adjusting it to what the house is actually worth in this market right now. And there was a really great point, it's not in these slides, about how we are doing CMAs, right? So as we're doing CMAs, we used to always just do solds, right? Like this was what was going on. Now they're doing the 5, 5, and 5. I believe that was right.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the 5 solds, 5 actives, 5 pendings, right? We don't know what those pendings are selling for, but I think we are all aware that if it's sold in 7 days, it's probably pretty close. Or we could call up that listing agent and say, hey, I know you can't tell me, but is it pretty close or is it above or below asking price, right? So this is where we're going to have to dig in a little bit deeper than where we were before, just slapping a price on, putting a sign up and it's sold in 3 days and 20 offers, right? We have to really dig deep and like get them the information that they need. So we're not doing price reductions. Because when we all know, anyone that was in the market when those were like a thing that happened all the time, now buyers feel like they have the upper hand on a seller, right? So when we talk about negotiations and the mindset of a price reduction, seller feels deflated, usually a little ticked off at you as an agent because you overpriced the house and you didn't tell them that that was going to happen. Most likely not the case, but now buyers are like, oh, now they're probably going to accept even less because now they did a price reduction. So now we have negotiation power, right? So when you're having those conversations, it's better to price on point versus overprice and then lose negotiation power. Do you have questions around that?
I have a
Jacob.
quick thing. We talked about this before in team meetings. I think this is a really good perspective to give clients. It helps the conversation of your house isn't worth as much as you think. And it's the conversation, which, yeah, it's a tough thing to do. The difference between pricing strategy and value, because the value inherently is whatever a buyer is going to pay. That's how much your home is worth, period. The pricing strategy is totally different than what your home might actually be worth. So if we're pricing it for less than you might think, well, the strategy there is we're trying to get multiple buyers interested, and then get ourselves into multiple offers, and then we're going to truly find the person who's willing to pay the most. So making sure to have that conversation of value versus listing price strategy can help them feel a lot better around, oh, I'm only listing my house for $420 because hopefully we sell it for $440 when we get it in multiple offers. And I've seen the Zurichs have a lot of success with that. And I've just talked to people about that too, where it's strategy and actual value are totally different, and just separating those concepts in their brain.
I think that's a great point, right? Because when you say to a seller, right, there's an emotional tie usually to the property, and you suggest a price point or a price range, I always say price range, they immediately feel like you are putting a number on this precious thing that they've spent time, memories, love, and probably care on the property, right? When you frame it up as there is a difference between the value of your home in which a buyer is going to determine and the way that we strategize pricing your home, takes that emotional piece out of it, right? Because you're not telling him the value. You're saying this is the strategy to get you the best value that we can do for your home. I love that. Thanks for sharing. All right.
If I remember rightly,
Rick or someone else?
He's on vacation. I think he might be on a plane. So
Cool,
unless
I
he
get points
watches
for it.
this, so he's not here. All right, days on market. Okay, guys. How many of you ever experienced 30 days on market prior to now? Okay, I'm asking this as a very serious, there were 3 hands. Guys, when I got into the market, there were times where it was like 180 days on market and you were still trying to negotiate $5,000 off of a sales price. And they were like, nope, not doing it. And you had, I mean, Jim, how many price reductions at that time? You probably had 2 to 3 where you were like, oh, here we go again. This is interesting, right? And again, this is across the board, but we're seeing days on market get higher. That is not something to be scared of, right? Like that's just normalizing the fact that inventory is coming up and people are having time to make a sound, rational, educated decision on buying a home, right? So this is something to watch though, because people are going to say, right, when these days on market started going up, sellers were like, I can't believe you priced my home wrong. You know, I'm going to fire you. There's a lot of conversations on that end, right? So keep an eye on days on market so you can prep both buyers and sellers, but sellers, it's more important because if they think their house is still going to sell in 7 days and the average in that particular neighborhood is 25, you are going to be stressed out for the next 25 days. Because they are going to text every day about where the showings are, why is my house not selling? It's being able to set an expectation for them. Are you guys noticing higher days on market?
Yep.
Are your sellers getting stressed out about that? Yeah? Only one of them. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is another amazing slide, mortgage rates. We just had these whole conversations the last, 2-3 months about mortgage rates going up. Everyone freaked out. I no longer can buy a home because it's too expensive, right? No, it's not too expensive. You were trying to buy something out of your means is essentially what that conversation truly is. Because interest rates going up is not a bad thing. Again, it is something to make the economy able to tick, right? If we were just having a really small interest rate, everything about the economy is a business, including interest rates, home buying, everything. You go buy groceries, it's a business. So when you look at this, think about what people were buying and selling in 1982 at a 16.6 interest rate on a home. That's like credit cards that people don't even want to have anymore, right? And that was their mortgage interest rate. Okay, so when we were hitting like lows of 2.9, that's insane. That is like giving money away for free. Like honestly, like that's so minimal. So when you show this, right, and people are like, oh, it's going to spike, even look from here, from 2007, and you were at, a little bit, probably closer to 6. People were, still buying and selling, and this is not that huge of a difference. And if this starts going up to normalize again a little bit more, not anything to be scared of. It's just a matter of what are you able to afford and what are you able to pay on that piece, right? What questions you guys have on mortgage rates or comments? Paige.
What I tell people is that the interest rate changing is all it's doing is shuffling back the buyer's ability. It's not impacting the home prices or home demand. It's just or the supply. It is just when it got so low, people were pushed up to be able to buy such a larger homes. Now they're being pushed back to what they should be. Yep. There's absolutely no reason why people cannot buy at this.
Yep, it's just shifting. It's just shifting price points, right? It's shifting where you're spending your money. All right.
I talked to one of my lenders this morning, and it was such an interesting conversation because she said, there's really no such thing as tell me what the interest rates are today, because it's always a menu. Right? So, what do you qualify for? What is your credit? And what do you want to pay? Do you want to pay 4%? Because she can still do that. It might cost you 30 to 50,000.
Yeah.
But she can still get you 4%.
You'll just have to buy it down.
You just
Yep.
buy it down. So what is the interest rate? Well, what do you want to do?
What do you want?
It's a great question. That's an awesome question. What do you want the interest rate to be?
What makes it make
You know what I
sense?
mean? Like what makes sense for you? And then they're like, well, I can't buy it down. Great. So then the interest rate's going to be
Right.
like, you have options. Jim.
Including a variable rate.
Yep.
Mortgage. You know, they're making a comeback.
They are.
And so if it's a first-time home buyer and they're looking at, well, there's an adjustable that will get you into the house. And it was, you can lock it in for a year, 5 years, whatever, but you've got options. You've got a menu. You get to choose. Yeah, so the best answer is, it depends.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Wendy.
I think the other thing, and they talked about this at Mega Camp, is helping people have context, have some history.
Yep.
So I bought my first house at 11 something,
Yeah.
11 plus. That's just what they were. But you still wanted to have a house. you
Yeah.
know? And then we bought our next one. It was 8 something. We thought, wow, this is awesome. And then when they dropped to 5, we had to refi it at 15 years to get a 5 point something. And just felt like we were stealing money.
Yeah.
But there's context for things over the years, and we still owned our own home. We still sold for a profit. We still were able to buy another one. And so the fact that we're coming out of these really low rates doesn't mean that that's normal.
Well, and that's just the thing is, you haven't seen that since who knows when, if ever, right? Like, those were numbers. And here's the other part of that. If we look at the economy as a whole, that happened because of not awesome things that were going on. You realize that, right? Where I'm like, okay, so if you look at it as a whole, where people only look at one thing, and that's housing, why are those rates so low? Those rates are so low because of everything else that was happening in the economy at that point in time, right? So being able to see that and explain that to people, where you have to have kind of that middle ground, so it's a really healthy economy all around, right? So, all right, so monthly, here again, when you're talking about interest rates, just like we said, it's like who knows, right? It could go up, it could go down. Obviously, there's been a spike, and there was decreases, but it's one where this isn't constant at any point in time. There's no trend line that we have on this slide, right? Like, this has been an ever-changing kind of line since 2015. So it's it's up to you. Again, we can get you to wherever you want to be if you're willing to pay that or have that particular product. Okay, next slide. All right, so this is going into kind of economy pieces of it, right? So this is good to know just when you're thinking of the economy as a whole. Again, not just homes are the thing that affect interest rates, home sales, new construction, all of those. So when you're looking at this, right, what do you see with the unemployment rate?
It's a lot better than it was in 2020.
Yeah.
It's still higher than maybe years past, but
Okay.
I don't know.
But we're not at a high like we were kind of 2009, 2010, 11. We're not even.
Not that tidal wave of when everybody got rocked.
Nope. Okay, next slide though, I find, not this one. This one. What do you guys see on this?
Well, there's plenty
So
of-
here's the unemployment rate. Here's the job openings. What do we get to complain about right now?
Yeah.
People not working,
Yep.
okay? Guys, this slide right here is shocking. And if there is one thing that has nothing to do with housing, this is it right here. I have so many opinions on this, just in regards to, right? I was talking to someone the other day, I don't even remember, it was yesterday, obviously.
Probably, maybe.
It was you, yeah, when we were talking about, you can work at a pizza place and make $17 an hour, right?
That's crazy.
That's insane, okay? But we choose, as, you know, we're here, we want a business. Many of us would be like, I don't want to work there, but there is opportunity. We're just choosing those that, you know, not to go do that, right?
This also means as a business owner, if you're looking to hire employees, your rates are going to have to be competitive. Because if
Incredibly
someone-
competitive.
Because if I can go work at a warehouse in Anoka and make $17 an hour or $20 an hour on the second shift and get health insurance, I might do that over being a real estate assistant for $18 an hour doing data input. It's just a really important consideration to make. And it's not fun, but people will leave if there's value in other areas, especially if it's that close and especially if they're offering other really valuable benefits packages.
Yeah, so this is huge. This is huge as you're growing your business, right? Because if you're not aware of what's going on here, you know, and someone said social media, yeah, people are trending to, you know, be YouTube, whatever, and becoming millionaires. Like, so what do we need to do, right? And what does that look like as we're looking for talent to join a team or just to get onto a team as a buyer's agent, as administrative help, as social media? You have to be aware of this because it's affecting the bottom line as a business owner.
It's also affecting every subcontractor.
Correct.
So if you want someone to come do your plumbing or build a screen porch or any of those things that anybody wants done on their house, they are all struggling. Labor shortages and lead
Yep.
times are longer than we've ever seen them.
And if you don't have relationships with those vendors, good luck. Like if you have a listing coming up and they're like, I need this, if you don't have relationships built with those people, that is your number one thing this week. Go find an electrician, go find a plumber, actually find 2 of each. Go find a painter, like anything.
Vendor resource guide.
And the vendor resource guide. But in there, make a relationship with them, right? Like, so you're not just randomly calling and say, hey, I'd love to just get to know you better. All right, next slide. So this one's fun. I talked through all these. I want someone else's opinion on this.
Kimmy, do you agree with the idea that inflation is going to drop really hard in the next couple of years? Because I see it kind of jumps to 7 and it's shooting back down to 2 or 3, or at least that yellow line is.
I think it goes with anything, right? So when it shoots up like that, half of it's getting pushed by inventory, getting pushed by all the other items like across the board in the economy. What they're projecting is that going back down, and it doesn't. I mean, again, there's history for everything. Every time it spikes, it comes back down. It comes, you know what I mean? There's not a really good trend line with that. And some of that is obviously not controlled by us. It's controlled by what we as a country are doing with, you know, incentives and, you know, putting money in and, you know, interest rates going up and down. Like that's controlled by various things.
Do you think they could maybe be anticipating that because, and you can, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it usually like rates in general usually go down during a new presidency, like at the first couple of years of something?
I have opinions on that. I'm gonna keep those. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything, right? It's to get people watching, and that, like the politics do have a play in it. And gas obviously has a huge effect on this, right? I mean, when you think of gas, I don't remember the last time gas was at the prices that it was at. And how is that going to, when you think of that, okay, so if gas prices are going up and you're having more and more electric cars, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, do we have too much? Do we have too much supply? Is it going to go down? Is it, I mean, there's so many things to think about on that piece. Again, that would affect this.
I think this is a good conversation to have with home buyers and sellers too, in terms of
you need to put your money in something. If they have $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 in a savings account waiting to buy a house, if they had that on December 31st of last year and then January 1st this year, that was worth 9% less the moment that kicked in. You know, like it was worth a lot less all of a sudden. I bought a house last year. My house was worth more. So that worked for me. Glad I got it when I did. But if like when that happens, you immediately just lose that. It's gone. But if you put it in an appreciating asset like a home or an investment, all of a sudden, suddenly that's counteracting inflation at some level. Yeah.
Guys, did you just hear what Jacob said? Can anyone speak to that, like what he just spoke to that? Like, this is where you're making and helping people make a gigantic financial decision, right? We can know 3-bedroom, 2-bath, granite countertops, but being able to speak to a client in that way is remarkable. And honestly, it's our job to be able to know these numbers. Like if we're not knowing these numbers, even if it's not every day, we should be looking at them weekly. Because the economy like absolutely affects the housing market and vice versa. And if you don't know what's going on, someone else is going to know what's going on. Because I'm going to tell you, if I was sitting in front of Jacob and he just said that, I'd be like, tell me more. Right? And now it's like, okay, do I invest this? What if I just do an investment property? Thanks. Anybody else? All right, next slide. This is, I mean, we can kind of shoot past that one. Okay, this is a big one though. So new construction, when we're talking about inventory, new construction was a huge piece of the inventory over the years, right? There's a few things that went into play with that though. Land shortage, right? In regards to where we building this, and is it too far out of kind of the urban sprawl? And 2, prices of not just labor, but supplies have went insane, right? So when you're looking at this, it's finally starting to go back up, but there were some years where it was really, really low. And honestly, I'm a little shocked at 2021 where that actually was. Anyone else shocked with that number, that it was actually that high? I would have not suspected across the board that there was that much new construction.
Well, nationwide. Like,
But even nationwide, just in regards to the issues that we had with lumber, that's a nationwide, that was a worldwide issue, you know?
So low. My perspective is that people just didn't have it. I mean, they felt like they had no other option.
Besides, yep.
And new construction doesn't mean people are moving into homes necessarily. It's signing contracts for a year out from now or whatever that may be.
Yep.
I guess I'm more surprised that it's already dropping, considering that we are still in a housing shortage, that we're already seeing it drop down.
Yeah.
Well, I think that has to do with prices have continued to rise even more so than, I mean, I just moved into a new neighborhood and they're selling the same house for $200,000 more than what I bought my house for. I mean, it's substantial and people can't afford it now, especially with a different.
Yep. Awesome. I want to be conscious of time. This is a big one. Affordability, right? Payment and interest as a percentage of income. So when you're really thinking about that, how many years was that pretty good? This is one which is more shocking to me than interest rates, right? Or anything else. This is one where it's like, this is what you should be watching. And part of this, I think, is because people stretched, right? In these last years, they're like, oh, I'm going to spend this because I can get it for, 2.9%. Great. So you got that $2 million house. And now, and this is also conversations moving forward, are they able to keep up with that $1 million house? Because that's usually 5,000 square feet, right? When things go wrong, are they going to be able to afford that? Like, keep an eye on your clients that have bought in the past few years, because it's going to be a very different client care and different relationship than it has been in the past.
And this is a really sudden jump. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the other ones, they're a little bit
Yep.
more zigzaggy.
Yep.
This one went from really low to really high in
In a short amount of time. Yep. Great. This one I just put in there for effect of the fact that look at how many agents. It is an all-time high of who believes that they are an amazing agent that can sell real estate. We all know that that's not true, okay? Because it's the top 20% that are doing most of the business, correct? But when you think about that, I want you to think of when you're lead genning and the top or the bottom 80% are calling and getting more business. That should light a fire so hot in your belly of like, I want to actually help these people because I know what I'm doing and they deserve the best care possible, right? Because everyone out there is reaching for business right now. Jacob.
Size this graph is wrong and I want to make this more important to people. So this is the difference between 1 and 5, right? Half. This isn't properly scaled. It's a bigger deal than that. I looked at that graph first and I was like, that looks weird. It's literally incorrect in terms of sizing. But yeah, it's increased by 50%. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? Shoot, it was. Nope,
That's
it's
a
done.
huge thing. And this happened because of the market, right? I know like anyone in the last, like some people, right? It was like you could breathe and sell a house. Right? Because people were like, I want a house or I need a house or just throw the sign up and everyone jumped on that train. Now we are going to have to hone in on a skill set that is very different and you have to put the time in to figure those skills out and to practice them and to know the information.
That's true every time the market goes down.
Every time, yep.
I mean, now we're asking people to actually work.
Yep.
And they could go make $17 an hour.
Yep. Jacob.
I remembered. The average real estate agent does 8 transactions a year. The median real estate agent does 5. 750,000 people out of that 1.5 million do 5 or fewer transactions a year. That's really important to know. And it's also really important to know because every client that works with you no longer has that coin flip of working with someone who is not very good at what they do. It's really important. You're helping people and you're helping people avoid people who don't know what they're doing. We've all worked with the bad agents. This is why we're here. This is why I'm here anyway. I don't know why you're here.
Jacob's like, if you're not here for the same reason, well,
Hey, we all got
whatever. So then this is the rent one that we were talking about. And then there's another slide. And again, if you guys have to run out, that's okay. But I do want to go through these if you have time. Rent's rising as well.
This is so important.
Like it's not like interest rates are going up. Oh my gosh, my monthly payment's going up. I mean, taxes, like property taxes are going up. Everything is going up. So is the rent, right? And actually rent is probably going up even more if you really think about it, because not only are interest rates going up, property taxes in most places are going up. You know who pays that? The landlord, right? It's the homeowner that pays that. So now they're paying more for a mortgage and taxes. You better be darn sure they're going to have that covered with you paying rent, right?
Most electric bills have doubled this summer.
Yep.
So every landlord has to.
Yep. And most landlords, as long as like if I'm going into investment with someone, I'm going to say, is it split? And those tenants are paying their own everything, right? So they're still already paying utilities, just like they would be in their own house, as long as it's split. Okay, so this graph is phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal, right? So owning a house after 10 years, right? This is your number. This is renting, but yet still investing. So you're investing whatever you have extra. Let's just say 10% of your income, right? You're investing that, right? So you're here, but that's a big difference. Most people are right here.
Well, most people are less than that because most people.
I guess they are.
doing
Yep,
10%.
I guess they are.
I
Yep.
know very few are renting and doing a 10% investment.
Yep.
Unless it's maybe their 401k for matching or something.
Which, yeah, and that's like what their job's bringing.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
about
you were to show this to someone, what do you think they would choose? Like if we go like way back historically, like homeownership was the pride in being able to pay, like have something of your own, right? Obviously renting is always going to be around for various reasons, but if there's any other reason to be like, hey, let's talk about the opportunity of homeownership and why that's important.
And really, it takes about 3 years to be the break even. It's 4 when you're ahead, and after that, it just takes off.
I mean, this one, if you end up posting and just like type in, tell me your thoughts, I'd be all for that, because I would be interested in what people would have to say about that. Because I don't think they know, or they don't think about it like that, right? You don't think about it. I didn't think about it. Is there questions on the chat or? Oh, okay.
What's the renting and investing, just, and then more than 10%, and then just 10%? That's what that is.
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yep.
Katie, real quick, I want to emphasize what Wendy said, the 3-year thing, especially in Minnesota. 3 years is all you need to like make it a break even versus renting. So you can ask people, okay, well, you don't buy a home yet. Could you be in the house for 3 years? That's all you need to break even. Is that like, and obviously make sure they're comfortable with it. That's another great conversation to have. People like, well, I'm not ready. Well, I'm not sure. Can you do 3 years? And if they can, great. And if not, okay, cool. Let's wait until you can, you know, because I
That's
can
a
do that.
conversation I have all the time with people, like, okay, you want to rent, tell me about that, why? And if they say, because I think a year from now, I'm gonna move to Colorado. Okay, that makes sense. Or, you know,
Well,
are you
yeah,
gonna be here for another 4 years? Do you think?
What if you are, or if you are going to move in a year, what could you get for rent, and would it pay for the mortgage, right? So now you have your first investment property. Now you go to Colorado and find whatever else you want, right? Like, so there's options even with that.
Are these numbers including that your rent goes up? Like when you.
I don't know if they add that
You know what I
detail. I
mean?
don't know if they added in like inflation rates on. I mean, guessing they have a little bit, but probably not as accurate as what they could, I'm guessing, but.
As part of my conversation, when I'm talking to people like you or Jacob, is would you like to be able to control your rent?
Yeah.
Would you like a hand in that? Because
Yep.
right now you're at the mercy of your landlord.
Yep.
Well, these are historic numbers, so they're starting in 2012, so they're using real numbers or whatever inflation was in rents were. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would be true.
We are projecting.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, next slide. This was just one that he brought up because again, people talk about buying, right? So institutional investors, we all know who that is, right? Or what that looks like, just large pockets of money buying and then they hold and then they resell them. For the longest time in Minnesota, it was Blackstone that came in and they bought and they rented out a ton of homes across the board. And I'm talking hundreds, thousands of houses they bought. It's still happening and it's happening at a pretty high rate. So what does that mean? That means that they're still buying properties because they're making the money on the rent side. Right? And most of them are not flipping these houses. They're renting them out and still making a profit. And they're buying these homes like enough where that they can still make that profit. So if anyone has a question of, well, people just aren't buying anymore. If you have millions of dollars of buyers still buying houses and then renting them out, yes, people are still buying. And at that point, now they are controlling what the market looks like.
It also speaks to why we're having issues with inventory.
Correct.
Because if you have institutional buyers capturing, 15% or 10%, 11% of your market, that means there's only, the other 80 or 90 to fill the need of your everyday.
I mean, I would say just recently, we probably went into this. Because before, I am guessing years like right prior to COVID, we were in the purple in Minnesota, right? And now, if you know what's happening, look at where they're buying. Do we know why they're buying down here? Businesses are moving down here because of taxes. Again, this is not just about housing. This is about the economy and what's going on, right? So people are moving their businesses to Texas because, oh, shocking, Minnesota is not the most amazing place for taxes in regard to small business owners, right? Or any business, quite frankly. So if you're not watching that, that's also a place to start watching for investments. People are like, well, why is this booming? Why was Colorado booming? Colorado was booming at the same time as Minnesota was. And they were starting an infill build in Denver, just like in Minneapolis and Edina. Those were happening at the exact same time. Right?
Denver's crazy. Like driving
Yeah.
from the airport to the actual.
But
city.
that was happening just simultaneously with Minneapolis, Edina area. So these are things that you really, as business owners, as agents, you have to think about all of this on a grander scale to be able to have real conversations with buyers and sellers. And if you're working with investors and you don't know this information, shame on you. Truly shame on you for that. Like, because you are having them invest in something that you don't know the real ramifications of it. This is just a fun slide. Any questions about any of those numbers at all? They're really good. They're really good to tell clients.
The only one I'd say about this one is we're starting to see a reduction in
Yeah.
the remote
Yep.
workforce. And
Yep.
so people are getting, again, more tied back to where they have to go.
The actual, yep, face
And
to
that-
face.
that tide's turning.
Yep. Any other questions regarding these slides? Who is going to use these slides to help educate, potentially social media, buyers, sellers, presentations? Who would like to see more localized numbers as well? Okay. Because I think both are important. I think both of them are important. Maureen, you have a question?
She mentioned raise her hand, Felix.
No, I was just raising my hand to answer your question.
Okay. We'll work on some localized numbers. That might take a little bit, but it's going to be, just so that you can show the difference. And obviously, localized could be 7-county metro. It could be your own area. You can find some of this stuff out, right? You just got to do some digging. Like if you work in a specific area all the time, I would be looking these numbers up on a weekly basis.
Some of these numbers are also available on National
Yep.
Association of Realtors
Yep.
website. And you can go by the state
Yeah.
and then narrow it down.
Yep. All right. Any wants and needs before we head out? Okay, if not, send those to Lydia and she'll get those out in an email today. So any buyer wants and needs listings, and she'll shoot that out. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.